The Run with Manny Wilson podcast is brought to you by Fifth Investments. Investing is the easiest way to double your money, especially when you do it right. Most of us need help with getting started, right? I'm telling you right now, Fifth Investments is the easiest way to take your first step. You can sign up for the Daily Trading Journal, weekly newsletter, including trade ideas, market analysis, news, and information on navigating the stock market. They got you covered with long-term, short-term, options trading, and more. So go to fiftinvestments.com and use the promo code THERUN for $20 off your premier membership, or just sign up for free. Trade the stock market and perfect a skill that's going to last you a lifetime.
The information is not trading or investment advice. The newsletter is only a personal blog that is being offered publicly for general information purposes only.
Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Run, the Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago. And this time we're going all the way back to the West Coast with our special guest here, athletic trainer and host of Creating Greatness podcast. Robert Prasch is here with me today. What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Hey, man. How y'all doing out there? Thank you so much for having me on. You took it to the West Coast, but also to the East Coast as well, with me being from New Jersey. So we sort of got an all-inclusive thing happening.
Okay, yeah, all right, I like it, man. Okay, so we all over right now. We all over. I like that. But man, no, I'm super excited to have you on, man. Thank you so much for coming on again, man. Got a lot of things I want to touch on. Just kind of want to pick your brain as well. But to start off, I always kick it off with a ticket question. This is just the first question. You got to punch a ticket on the show. So my question to you here, being an athletic trainer, having a lot of different experience. I know you said you played football throughout your entire life pretty much. I just want to know, we've seen different generations of athletes, play through all sorts of injuries. And it's not always the smart thing to do. And probably you as a player, maybe you played through some injuries as well, and it wasn't really the smart thing to do. But now, being a trainer and working with different athletes, to what extent should an athlete choose to say, all right, forget it, I'm going to sit out, make the right decision, not play through it, and make that other decision of, all right, I'm going to just play through the injury because who cares?
I think that case would literally be circumstantial for each and every single circumstance. Right. I mean, I don't play sports anymore, but I have a very hard time sitting out during an injury.
Right, right.
Especially in the gym, and I'm on calisthenics, I do the resistance bands, and nothing hurts worse than getting put out of the game, man. Whether your game is an athletic sport or a trainer that just loves working out, that's my passion.
Yeah, that's fact.
So I think each case is very circumstantial. You have to weigh the pros and the cons with everything. My favorite thing to do now is I haven't injured myself in a long time, but for my pec, it put me out of the game, but I still went to the gym. I still walked the treadmill. I still did legs a lot. But the most important thing for me now has been preventative measures, joint programs, yoga, a lot of yoga. And that's really kept me from having those injuries. But yeah, a long answer to your question, but I would say each case is circumstantial, man. And you have to weigh the pros and cons within your own mind and body.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense, Dan. So ticket is accepted. I like that answer to it. And then also, too, you mentioned preventative measures. Could you touch on that just a little bit more? I know you mentioned yoga and stuff like that. Could you just touch on those different type of workouts, though?
Well, for me, I was a very egotistical trainer and workout participant in the beginning. Red-blooded American. I fell victim to that trap, and I would just go to the gym and put the heaviest weight on and really cause myself a lot of problems that way in the shoulder. And I mentioned, I tore my a few times. So as I started cultivating a little bit of spirituality into balance the physicality, I started realizing that there are other things to it than just going in the gym and showing off and being the biggest guy there lifting the most weight. So what I started doing was lightening the weight considerably, maxing out. But furthermore, the most important thing was the yoga. the yoga and also implementing of resistance bands into my training.
Okay.
Resistance bands are like excellent, man. You can do super lightweight and just really get the range of motion, because that's where we get hurt. The muscle gets stronger before the joint does, and that comes with supplementation. When you're doing things like creatine and things that are even worse than that, your muscle is growing and getting stronger before the joints are. So you're jumping into workouts head on, you can get injured that way. And that's the way that I did. So I decreased my supplementation considerably, where now I'm just really on like a little bit of protein, a little bit of amino acid, and do the yoga, specializing in the parts where you're weak. Like me is my knees and my shoulders. I'm doing a lot of yoga. And then the resistance bands also help. Okay.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, man. I did yoga a few times actually, and I really liked it because it was slightly different than, like you mentioned, that typical, all right, let me go to the gym and just like lift heavy and do all kind of heavy type of workouts. It was slightly different, and it felt, for me, it was uncomfortable because it's like I'm not used to, doing these type of motions, or I'm not used to, bending this type of way. So it was definitely interesting for me, and I enjoyed that. And I also heard, like, a lot of athletes, a lot of football players, basketball players, they incorporate yoga into their workouts. And would you say a lot of that, because I know you mentioned like to strengthen different joints and stuff, would you say like that would be a huge reason of why, is to strengthen different joints and parts of their bodies?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most important things about yoga for an athlete is it keeps your range of motion and your flexibility. And yes, it's strengthening your joints and tightening your muscles to prevent injury. So I think that that's the first initial reason most athletes get into it. But I'm going to tell you why they stay.
Let's hear it.
And you touched on it because you said it was weird. Like I was out of my comfort zone. And that's what I mean by taking the ego out of it, man. It's like, if you were to ask me 10 years ago, I would say, yoga is for women, or it's for older people, because I was that sort of person. I'm just being honest. Once I let go of that, and just, I don't care what people think of me, dude. If you see me doing a downward dog in the gym instead of bench pressing 300 pounds, that's okay, because I'm comfortable with who I am.
That's all that matter, man.
People end up staying because they touch that. They connect that piece of themselves. Excuse me. Because through the breath and the stretches, and maybe they got the spiritual music going in there, something happens on that mat. And it sort of pieces together another part of us and who we are, because we are men, we are strong, we are athletes, and we are physical, but there's also a totally different aspect of who we are that will help complete that scenario, man. And yoga touches on that.
I feel like it also helps just a lot mentally, man. That like, it brings that balance. You mentioned that earlier too, just like, kind of helping to balance out different type of things you were doing. I feel like yoga helps a lot with that. Not only does it help the ego, but being comfortable with yourself, being comfortable, being a male, regardless of your size, doing a downward dog. It's like, hey, at the end of the day, who cares what somebody thinks? Like, I'm getting my good workout. Like, I can probably bend in ways that this person can't bend. I can probably, jump in certain ways without having to feel certain risk in my knees or my hips and stuff like that. And I think that has a lot to do with it too. So for those who out there interested in possibly doing yoga, give it a try, man. Give it a try. You just don't be too hard on yourself. I think for a lot of guys, people are way too hard on themselves, too judgmental for themselves. And instead of just realizing like, hey, like, who cares at the end of the day? Like, at the end of the day, nobody's really going to care. But
have fun with it,
Yeah, have fun with it. Try something new. That was like the whole reason I did it for the first time anyway, was just literally to try something new. I was already kind of getting into like a meditation type of state where I want to meditate, but it was just like a physical thing. Like, hey, I never tried yoga. I know it's supposed to be calming. I know it's supposed to, help with certain things, but I never tried it. And I enjoyed it. I still don't do it, but I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you, but I definitely did enjoy it. So that kind of brings me up to my next question too, man. Like, a lot of people, they play sports throughout their entire life. And unintentionally, we transition into being inactive or developing bad health habits, and just all kinds of things that, we may not have found ourselves doing when we were playing a sport. But I say all of that to say is like, what advice do you have for someone that's going through that right now and looking to possibly regain focus of practicing more healthier habits?
Well, I think I'll speak for myself. My problem with that is like transitioning from an athlete my entire childhood, high school athlete, and then I was very busy being a knucklehead in school. So the couple of colleges that were looking at me, my grades were up to par. So then, as we talked about, I went into coaching midgets and playing semi-pro. I couldn't let go of being an athlete. I identified very heavily with I'm a football guy. That is who I am. That's what I do.
That's real.
And when I lost that, it took me down some very dark roads, man. I'm going to be honest, because I didn't have a purpose. I wasn't passionate about anything.
Right.
I was passionate about football. My purpose was football. I coached, I played, and I drank, I drugged, I partied. I had no purpose. And us as men, it's like, the most important thing for us to have in life is a purpose, a reason for being. Yeah. So for me, it took a lot of hard lessons, man, to find yoga and meditation and spirituality. And then also remember that, like, hey, man, just because I'm not competing in a sport, I'm still competing in life, man.
Yeah,
and I want to be
facts.
The best.
That is
so
facts.
I got the personal trainer certification, and I started training my body and training my mind like I'm training for some sort of event, because my warrior spirit won't let me do anything less. I want to be prepared for anything, man. I'm the guy in the restaurant that's sitting in the back and I'm looking at everything because I'm waiting for it to, and I'm ready. And that's something that I preach about on Creating Greatness. Like, we don't have to be doom and gloom to be at our ultimate readiness, and that's something that I hold diligently within my mind. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a volunteer in the prison systems. I'm a leader in my community, so I have to be strong. I have to be disciplined. And I found purpose in those things. I realized I didn't have to just identify with this small piece of who I was, this physical, tough person, which is still an aspect of who I am. I was so much more than that. And my purpose now is more widely driven. But yeah, man, I train like we're going to war. And I'm not thinking that. I'm not no negative person. I'm not doom and gloom, but that's what helps me with my purpose, and helps me not drink, and helps me not overeat, and helps me not fall into those vices of immediate gratification that once we fall off those highs from the field, we're getting cheered at, and all the girls want to, we were scoring whatever. Once we come off those highs, we have to balance ourselves back out.
Right. Yeah.
And we need to do it without going to the lows that I did, to find that.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, man. I feel like that's always a tough transition for anyone is, once you go from playing sports, especially as long as you did as well, because a lot of people that ends right after high school. And then only a large majority goes on to that next level to play any college football, whether it's small or big or whatever the case is. And I feel like that is such a difficult transition period. And I know you mentioned you had to refine your purpose and find things that motivated you again. I guess I just want to say, for advice for those who are looking to, kind of refine their purpose, the meditation, the yoga, in any type of order, what would you say is the route that they should probably look into first to help themselves?
First of all, it's an amazing question, man, because it will answer a lot. If people want to listen. The problem with it is that everyone's journey is different, man. That's the problem. So we as teachers or guides, I can always speak from experience. And the very first thing that I would suggest to anyone is a sort of detachment from society and outside influence. Because oftentimes as we're maneuvering through our day-to-day, we're coming in contact with so many demands on our attention and so many influence, whether it be from friends or family or work or the internet or, whatever you're looking at. Right. You're so heavily influenced by those things that sometimes it's hard to figure out who you really are,
that's facts,
what
man.
you're doing, and how you want to be doing it. So that detachment, take some time to turn off your phone, turn off the TVs, be by yourself. And whether you spend that time in self-reflection or exercise or meditation or yoga or whatever your choice is, go that route, but do it with that detachment away from all the influences. You can really get in tune with who you are, man, because I
That's
was
facts, man.
38 years old before I figured out who I really was. And a lot of people are 40, 50, 60 years old. They still haven't got in tune, man, with the universe.
Yeah, I meet those people all the time too, man. It's like, and you can always tell. Go ahead, my bad.
No,
Go
but
ahead.
that'll tell you what to do. That's your answer. Like once you detach from those influences, you get in touch with you and who you really are, and that sort of like spark of divinity that resides within us all. It's going to become clear. It's going to clarify in your mind through the prayer, the meditation, the yoga, the exercise, whatever it may be.
Right.
With that solitude and that detachment, it's going to become clear exactly what you need to do.
No, man, that's real, man. I really like that answer too, and I feel like too you can kind of sense that in others as well. Like I've met people, like you mentioned, it's people who are still way older who haven't. You can tell like they still haven't found their true sense of self, and it's like because of the outside influence, it is hard to push that away, but it is something you have to do, and that's why I say I like that. I like the answer to that, just of isolating. So I want to kick it for a second because that is cool. I like that one, man. I like that one. Applaud to you for that. Applaud to you for that. Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things. And even if a person is transitioning, whether it's in sports, out of sports, I feel like that ultimately goes back to the key of like solving the problem that you have. And if you want to add anything to that of just like solving a problem that a person may have, whatever it may be, I mean, feel free to jump in, man. Feel free to jump in.
I don't want to take up too much time. I get to go, and you said 30 minutes. Man. Those problems first you have to recognize you have a problem. And that's the thing, because so many of us are going through life. We do a lot of unconscious activities, and there's things that I'm noticing about myself that I do now. It just never stopped. It's just like, okay, so I stopped drinking. I stopped doing drugs. I stopped watching pornography. I stopped doing this. I stopped doing that. And then now it's like, well, you still overeat at certain times, or you drink too much caffeine sometimes. So you have to admit that you have a problem. And to admit that you have a problem, it's like realizing, is it anything that you're doing that's keeping you from your best self? Because there's your problem. And then you have to ask yourself, are you willing to change it? And then if the question number 2, the answer is no, then just stop where you're at or descale the dragon. Well, what am I willing to change? If I'm not willing to stop smoking, maybe I'm willing to stop drinking soda, or maybe I'm willing to stop biting my nails, whatever it may be. And then as you start nipping away at that person that you want to be and start making more and more best self decisions, you'll start tackling bigger and bigger problems. But because of that, you'll start winning more and more and getting bigger and bigger achievements.
That's facts, man. And that is true. I like the way you broke that down. But here's what it makes me think about too, because I'm like on that same journey. I'm always trying to, elevate and just become my best self. That's something that I try and just pride myself on with anything. But what I've noticed and what I've asked myself on multiple occasions sometimes is like, when does it get to that point? It's like that balance of like, all right, I've done this. I stopped eating meat. I stopped, like I'm whatever. I stopped eating pork. I don't know, just small things like I cut this out, cut that out. And it's like, all right, to what extent will I completely transition every single thing? And that's something that I kind of keep in mind. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't know if I have an answer for that. just right now, I still don't know if I have an answer for like, all right, to what extent am I gonna stop doing all of my habits? Whether good, bad, whatever the case is. I mean, I mostly practice good habits, but obviously I can find some things that, I can find some things, but that's to me, that's what I think. What do you think about that balance of like, all right, I'm gonna cut out these bad habits for sure. Boom, I got that point. I cut out the bad habits. Now, to what extent am I gonna balance of like, all right, let me continue to change certain things that help me get to where I am? If you get what I mean, right?
Let me run it back for you. So,
okay,
you mean balance that you'll keep some bad habits? Like, I'm gonna get rid of all this, but I'm gonna keep a couple to balance myself out.
Right, yeah. So I guess that is what I mean. I guess I'm trying to use myself as an example. I'm trying to think of like of bad habits. But I've really been trying, man. I feel like it's the consistency is the biggest thing. Like one of the most recent ones I've been trying to do is just like work out like 2 or 3 times a week. And it's been tough, but I'm finally at a point where it's like, all right, cool. Like I'm getting into a routine more and more. But it's like, all right, at what point where I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'm gonna go, instead of 2 times a week, I'm gonna go to 4 times a week. Like, I don't know. You get what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a thin line between the satisfaction of like what you've done and where you've transitioned to how far you want to go. If that makes any sense. I probably sound crazy as hell right now, but
No, you don't sound crazy. And in fact, because of the way that you're very analytical about what you're doing, I'll have you on Creating Greatness because this is all we do, man.
I appreciate that.
Into like analyzing the body and the mind and like life and figuring out how to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
So to your question, we all have bad habits, and just because you're on a self-improvement journey, I could be here talking about discipline and mindset and all these things. I'm going to go probably later and have some sort of bad habit.
Right.
You know, like
right.
we all have that. And I don't think there's a sort of balance in like keeping bad habits or keeping good habits or doing good habits to balance the bad. I think that's the wrong mindset. What I think, you do it at what you're ready for, man. You know, certain habits that I'm currently involved in, I'm not ready to let go of. But more and more I am. And I would say that if you're on a different sort of gauge where you're like, well, when do I stop? I'm fasting 16 hours a day. I'm working out 4 or 5 times a week. I'm doing yoga 3 times a week. I'm meditating every single day. I'm reading a chapter a day. You know, it gets deep, man. I mean, we don't stop on Creating Greatness, dude. This is what we do.
right.
I think that it is just in what you want to do and what you want to accomplish and how close do you want to be to your best self, because I dial in so hard on the details that people call me crazy on the regular. But this is what I firmly believe, that your commitment, the level of your commitment is indicative of the level of success, man. And what I mean by level of commitment, I'm talking about waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, going directly to a cold shower. I'm talking about an ice cold shower. I'm talking about walking out of there, doing your prayer, your meditation, your yoga, then going to the gym for an hour and a half. Then doing your family time, then working on the podcast, then reading your chapter, you know, and then more stuff.
Right.
That's how deep it could get. And when you really get there, dude, and you want to turn it up, you can, and you'll be more and more successful, man. I'm doing more podcasts. More people are asking me on podcasts. I'm getting more opportunities because I'm turning up that notch. But don't let me sit there and fool you, dude. I have my days, man. I have my days where I eat cupcakes and watch Netflix, dude. I'm guilty, man.
I feel like that's normal, though. I feel like that's normal, and it kind of. I just want to tie that into consistency, though, because like that's one of the most difficult things is to keep that volume cranked up all the way and consistent for a very long time. Like that same routine that you may have developed and implemented within yourself, like keeping that consistent for a long time. That's personally like what I'm adjusting to. And like I work a lot, bro. Like I work a shit ton 7 days a week. So like my routine is constantly changing and adjusting, and it pisses me off. Because it's like, as soon as it sounds crazy, but it pisses me off because it's like, as soon as I done developed a routine and I'm like, all right, this is how I'm gonna do this, this is how I'm gonna do this. And then I get consistent with it for like 3 or 4 days, maybe a week, then 2 weeks. Then it's like, all right, now my schedule's changing. Now I gotta work this day. Now I gotta work this type of shift. So it's like, damn, now I gotta readjust the entire routine that I had going on because I gotta go to work and do all of this. So it's crazy, but I think that's the most difficult part is like that consistency within your routine. Cause I love that, like, you know, you can crank it up, and that's what it's about, man. That's really what it's about. Cause I've experienced that too. Like the more I've locked down on my routine, the more I've really cranked down on consistency and cutting out the small things and being more disciplined. I ain't never got up at 6 a.m. to take no damn cold shower. I would, you on your own with that. You on your own with that one. But like I'll get up and immediately meditate, work on podcast stuff. Like that's part of my routine. But like as soon as that gets avoided or switched out because I got to be at work at 5 a.m, then it's like, damn. Like, man, that's the most difficult part, at least for me, I know.
I think if you read Bruce Lee's book, he wrote a couple, and I apologize for not knowing.
No, it's good. You can tell me after, man.
But when it goes on and on about like being like water, being flexible, being adaptable, being adjustable. Yes. And you do have your own set of challenges. So let me not sit here and minimize that because my routine is the same, you know? Right. No, I got you. I'm a part-time personal trainer. You know, I'm doing the podcast. My day is my own, man. You know, I work when I want to work, but that's why it's so much more important for me to be disciplined because I have to do it for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
One thing that I found to be beneficial with this balance is me and my wife call them conscious bad decisions. So when you're going hard, like you're saying, you're at work, you're podcasting, you're doing this, you're doing that, rather than go out and, I don't know what your vice would say. Let's say a hypothetical vice, a person to go out to a beer or smoke a joint or eat some dessert or whatever their thing is. To do it, plan it. I'm going to work these 5 days and then I'm going to go out and have my drink. Don't like out of frustration, go let off steam and do it.
Right,
so it's like me and my wife will plan it. We're going to work diligently, cold showers, workouts, all these things for these 6 days or these 4 or 5 days. And then on this day, we're going to go do date night. We're going to have some good dessert. We're going to have a drink and it's going to be great. And you will enjoy it all the more because you did it consciously. You made a decision to do those things. You didn't just fall off your routine or say, F it, I'm tired, I don't want to do it. So that's more my thing. Like I take days off, I rest and recover. But I have to tell myself that I'm allowed to do that like the day before. Because if I set a non-negotiable in my mind, like, oh, you're working out tomorrow, I don't want to hear it. You're taking that cold shower in the morning. I won't negotiate with myself, man. I learned that. I learned from Tony Robbins, really, if you want to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. We gonna exchange books and stuff too, man. we gonna get them book titles and stuff. That's been another one too, though. I try and read more. I listen to audiobook. So I just try. Yeah, it's the same thing. You still get the same content. So that's like part of what I would do is like when I'm getting information and listening to books and stuff. But no, man, that's dope. I like that because a lot of times too. And just kind of reverting it to sports and others who's not in sports and all of that, like, those conscious bad decisions where I feel like in society, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my personal opinion right here. I feel like in society, it's always preached like no days off, especially as an athlete, like if you can remember, that's like, the main thing, you're supposed to constantly be working, no days off. And like, at least for me, whenever I stopped playing sports, I took that same type of mindset and just applied it to whatever I was doing after sports. And everything I do now, that's kind of what I would do. But I had to realize and scale back, like, hey, rest is just as important. Like the rest is just as important. And I feel like that's a hard patch to get through in your mind, especially when you've been preached for so long of, hey, no days off. And then you get to a point where it's like, hey, like I'm working hard. Like I deserve some days off. So I feel like that's one of them things too that people get conflicted at as well. So if you want to add to that, go ahead, jump in.
Oh, I'll just add that if you listen to Dave Goggins at all, I mean, he is, world record-breaking Navy SEAL. The dude's a straight-up maniac. He was like 300 pounds. And one day he just decided he was going to be a Navy SEAL, lost crazy weight, went to the Navy SEALs, broke all these records. Look him up, dude. You probably like Dave Goggins.
Okay.
He says that a lot. No days off. But even him clarified himself in a video. He says, don't wake up and say, oh, I'm tired today and take the day off. If you plan rest and recovery, then that's what you do. Some people need it. Not everyone, but most people need it. And it's important to plan it. If you wake up and then just go, oh, I'm F it today, then you're setting yourself up for failure, man. You're letting your brain and your body know, like, I'm not a man of my word. I said I was going to do something, and now I'm not doing it. Man. But if you did all your work, man, you didn't shirk your responsibility. You handled all your business, but at the end of the week, you plan that night out, and you're going to – or if you plan the night in, dude, and want to order a pizza and relax and watch TV, you're going to enjoy that shit so much more because you're not shirking. You're not sitting there going, oh, I should be working out. I should be reading that chapter. No, I did all that.
Facts, bro. You know what I'm saying? Man, that is facts. Me and my lady, we actually talk about that so much of like rest days because we try and plan a lot of things too. But there's been times unintentionally, and I'm going to use that as advice, bro. Like the rest days, like, even plan the rest days, plan the rest time periods, all of that, because it's so true. When you do it unintentionally, when you're like, all right, I'm going to be productive today, and you end up fucking around and you like, I'm not going to do it. You feel that sense of guilt. And that's something me and her, we talk about all the time because it's like, if we're going to take a rest day, take a rest day. You need to make sure this is your rest day and you're not feeling that guilty conscience of like, man, I wasn't productive, because it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. So no, I love that you said that. I'm taking that. I'm taking knowledge with that, man. But I want to add something too, man. And I know we run out of time. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But you mentioned cold showers. I tried this. I just want to kind of pick your brain with this a little bit. I tried it at one point. But I couldn't get into it. Why? I just want to hear your reasoning of like, why you like the cold showers.
I don't like it. Let's get it clear. I don't like it at all.
Okay.
And let's move further with it. I hate it.
Okay.
Working out, I hate working out.
Okay.
I hate taking showers. But we as men, we have to do things we don't like to become the beings that we need to be, to protect the providers,
That's true.
The strong individuals for our families, for our communities. We're the leaders of our, even if it's just your small family. So we have to remain strong. But I'll shoot another name out there you need to look up. His name's Wim Hof. And he is the cold king, man. It's all breath work and cold, and that's the way that he lives his life. And they've done all sorts of scientific tests on this man, and there is scientific proof of improved blood flow, improved your lymphatic system drains better. Your immune system gets a boost. But I don't look at none of that stuff, man. All that stuff's great, but you want to know why I do it?
The discipline? Is that what that's what I'm gonna guess.
Because I don't want to do it. And I do it because when I turn that water to cold and I start shivering and that water hits me like ice, little ice drop, and I'm shivering and I'm shaking and I go, I want to get out. I have to consciously make a switch in my brain from this little scared cold person to the monster, to the machine, to the beast that I am, the person that I'm training to be. And when you cultivate that switch, it's a very powerful tool in the toolkit, man, because then you can turn that switch on whenever you need it. When life gets crazy, life gets chaotic, it gets stressful, and you don't know what to do, man, you can turn that switch, dude.
Okay.
And turn into that monster, turn that machine, turn that self-discipline on, and persevere through almost any adversity.
Okay, yeah. I definitely like that. I definitely like that. I hear a couple people. There's a couple people that I know who take cold showers, and like that's they incorporate that in their routine. And when I was trying it, my reason was similar to yours. It's just because like who the hell wants to take a cold shower? Nobody likes doing that. So, let me just try it just for, just so I can prove to myself I can do it. I can continue to like do it in the routine. But I'm gonna try it. I say all that to say I'm gonna throw it back in my routine. I'm gonna try and do that again. I'm gonna at least don't quote me, but the next few showers.
It's all part of the journey. It's all planting seeds, and maybe you're not ready for it. Maybe you are, but I do this segment on Championship Mindset Talks on Creating Greatness, which I'll have you on, man, because you'd be a great candidate to have.
I appreciate that. I love to join you.
People, you'll start saying these things. I'll get my old friends and I'll start talking about self-improvement and all these things. And man, they're looking at you like you're a maniac. They're looking like this guy's at. Or they'll go, oh, F that, I ain't doing it. I ain't doing that. And I'm thinking in my head, good. Because you won't go to the lengths that I will go, that gives me the competitive edge over you and everybody else that won't do it. So keep calling me crazy. Keep going, oh, that's for you. I won't do that. Okay.
I'm
leverage. Telling you, the information's here. It's free for you. I want to share it. Because if you're doing good, guess what? So am I. I don't hold nobody down, man. I lift them up. That's what we do on Creating Greatness. But
yes, sir.
At the same time, you ain't going to do it. I ain't got no problem outperforming you every single time.
Yeah, you get that leverage there, man. No, I like that, man. But look, man, let's wrap up. We'll talk more. I know we'll connect, but I want you to go ahead, drop your socials, drop where people can find you, websites, channels, anything where you will want people to find you, man. Go ahead, drop that information.
Oh, man, nothing much. It's just Creating Greatness podcast. If you want to listen to kind of the same stuff we talked about today, self-improvement, ways to level up your life, improve the quality of life of you and those around you. Creating Greatness podcast. You can contact me at creatinggreatnesspodcast@gmail.com. My name is Robert M. Prasch Jr. on Facebook, but I think you can find me if you search up King of Comebacks with 2 Ks at the end. That's where I put up all the stuff that we talked about today, like on Reels and, constantly putting out positive, uplifting, motivational content. So, yeah, man, looking forward to it. And I thank you so much for having me on, man. It was a blast.
Yeah, no problem, man. Hey, I appreciate you for joining, man. I really do. So I'm super excited to get this all out and everything, get it published and all of that stuff. But anyway, before we wrap up, you guys know where you can find me. Follow me on Instagram at The Run Podcast. Follow my personal as well at I am Manny Wilson. However you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, iPodcast, TheRunUSA.com, iHeartRadio, anywhere. I greatly appreciate it. But until then, we will be back later on next week, and so on and so on and so on. The Run with Manny Wilson podcast is brought to you by Fifth Investments. Investing is the easiest way to double your money, especially when you do it right. Most of us need help with getting started, right? I'm telling you right now, Fifth Investments is the easiest way to take your first step. You can sign up for the Daily Trading Journal, weekly newsletter, including trade ideas, market analysis, news, and information on navigating the stock market. They got you covered with long-term, short-term, options trading, and more. So go to fiftinvestments.com and use the promo code THERUN for $20 off your premier membership, or just sign up for free. Trade the stock market and perfect a skill that's going to last you a lifetime.
The information is not trading or investment advice. The newsletter is only a personal blog that is being offered publicly for general information purposes only.